What if I told you Penn State just added a 6'7" tight end with the elite speed, all Big 12 production, and the kind of NFL frame that keeps NFL teams betting on them? And the tight end whisperer, that's his guy too. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Draft Yoda here. We're data-driven and prospect-focused. And today we're breaking down Penn State tight end, Benjamin Brahmer, currently an 8.94 out of 10, tight end number 5 on my board going into this college football season, making him number 53 overall. Benjamin Brahmer came out of Pierce High School in Nebraska, where he played for his father, and totaled 1525 receiving yards, 21 touchdowns on a state title team as a senior. That's massive production. He also broke Nebraska state record with 249 receiving yards in a single game. That's not normal tight end production. That tells you he's not just a big body catching occasional red zone passes. He's a featured weapon, and he is winning downfield, winning in the red zone, and dominating the competition in a way that made it clear that the receiving skill set was already there. He was a 3-star recruit coming out, committed to Nebraska before flipping to Iowa State after the Husker staff changed. And again, not a 5-star pedigree. He had to build his profile. He had to prove the high school production was not just some small town dominance. He had to grow into a power 4 tight end. At Iowa State, and that's exactly what happened. Every season the production climbed, and that's a huge part of his evaluation. With developmental tight ends, you want to see the arrow pointing up, and you want to see the trust growing. More targets, more catches, more touchdowns, more responsibility, and Brahmer gives you all that. In 2025, he became one of the most productive tight ends in the Big 12. 37 catches for 446 yards and 6 touchdowns across 12 games. Only dropped 2 passes. And handled a heavy route volume. Earned second team All Big 12. And was on the Mackey Award semifinalist. He also led Iowa State in both catches and touchdowns. That's important. When the tight end leads the team in catches and touchdowns, he's not just a background piece. He's a centerpiece in the passing game. He's a player the quarterback trusts. He's a player the offense is trying to feature. And that same coach is the one that he followed to Penn State. The best part about his 2025 season that the production was spread across the schedule. It's not one massive game, buoying the entire production season. He had a 75-yard performance against BYU, and scored against 4 consecutive opponents. Consistently found his way to make an impact in the passing game, and you want that from a tight end. Flashes are good. Consistency is better. Brahmer showed that he can be part of a weekly game plan. Not every week is going to be dominant. Not every rep is going to be perfect. But at 6'7", with the speed he has, getting targets, you're going to make some people look very smart for having you, and make some defensive backs and defensive players look very dumb for not taking you as serious. Brahmer transferred to Penn State during the offseason. It's a big deal. He followed his coach to Penn State, and his quarterback followed to Penn State. And that familiarity matters. Tight ends changing schools can be difficult. Quarterbacks changing schools can be difficult. But when you have a pairing that change schools together with a coach, the consistency and the trust is already built in there. So I think that's going to add to, not take away from, um, his upcoming season. Um, you know, obviously the first thing that stands out when you watch his tape, this is 6'7". It's the first thing everybody sees, and it matters. A tight end with that kind of height changes throwing windows. He might be tall enough that even Bryce Young can see him, or Dylan Gabriel. Um, Hell, Diego Pavia may be able to see him. And those are some of the shortest quarterbacks we've seen in football ever. The second thing that really jumps off the speed is the speed. It jumps off the screen is the speed. He has elite speed. You don't expect a 6'7" guy to move as fast as he does. And it creates a mismatch because linebackers are going to have trouble running with him. Safeties are going to have trouble matching up with his size. Corners are going to have trouble dealing with his catch radius. That's why tall, fast tight ends always get drafted. The league keeps betting on that combination because when it hits, it changes offenses. I mean, you look at Gronkowski as a prime example. He's a weapon no matter what you put on there. Who doesn't matter who really guarded him, he was a weapon. Third thing that really stands out is his hands. 2 drops across all of 2025 is very, very strong. I know he had limited catches, but he was in the route tree very often. And when you become a reliable middle of the field option for a quarterback, a chain moving option for a quarterback, that gets you drafted and gets you drafted very, very aggressively by some teams. 6 touchdowns for a tight end also. It matters quite a bit. It's exactly where a player with his frame should be dangerous, is in the red zone. Space gets tight, windows shrink, defenders compress. You need players who can win without needing a ton of separation, and Brahmer has that body to do it. He has the ability to box out, and he can work seams. He can work the backline throw. He's great in the play action league. He's the type of guy that as a quarterback you want to have because he gives you that I'm just going to throw it up there and hope he comes down with it, or it's going to go into the first row of the fans kind of play. It's almost a schoolyard kind of play when you're playing with Brahmer. Now, nobody's perfect. Nobody's ever going to be perfect. Blocking needs to improve. I'm going to be honest, with a player of his frame, I was disappointed in the blocking tape. He's less than in the middle of the blocking rankings, and that's a problem because when you're 6'7", offenses are going to expect you to block, and defenses are going to expect you to at least be functional at the point of attack. You don't have to be a 6th offensive lineman, but you can't be soft. And there was a couple games where Brahmer looked a little soft when he was blocking. I think that can be improved because tight ends of his size are so rare. But that has to change. Blocking matters because it changes how an offense can use you for a tight end, especially one of his size. If a tight end can't block, the defenses know what's coming. They know you're going to pass. They know you're a pass catcher. But if you can block, it opens up the offense quite a bit. And that's honestly why he's so far down at tight end 5 instead of in the tight end 1, tight end 2 conversation, is the blocking. Another thing that he needs to improve on is his after catch production. For the size and the speed, the catch usually ends where he catches the ball. And that's disappointing because I expect a 6'7" guy with elite speed to be a player that can run through defenders, that can pull away from linebackers, that can turn seams into explosive plays, that can create chunk plays after contact. And that's not consistently been on tape. Um, Brahmer is more of a catch point and route volume tight end right now than a true yak weapon. And it doesn't kill the profile, but it limits the ceiling. And I need to see that improve. Um, the fourth concern or the third concern for me is his transition. You're so used to familiar faces, but the offensive coordinator, I don't believe, came with the head coach to Penn State, so there's going to be a new scheme. And it's a new program, it's a new city, it's a new state, it's a new league. You're going from Big 12 to Big 10. So your week-to-week matchups are going to be different. There's a bigger spotlight at Penn State than Iowa State. It's just the matter of the fact, um, it can help him by shining a light, but it can also expose him. If the offense clicks, Brahmer could be a major riser and into that tight end 1, tight end 2 conversation. But if it's messy, it gets cloudy. People may ask, why is he tight end 5 at 6'7"? And for me, Trey'Dez Green is an absolute rare tight end prospect. Chris Corbo is a cleaner, traditional tight end, and his blocking just sets him apart. Terrence Carter is a yak monster and a move piece. Luke Reynolds has all the 5-star tools and elite speed. He just has to put it on film. But I've seen him make more breakaway plays, and that's honestly where the difference lies. It's a very tight group between Luke and Brahmer. But if Brahmer, shows stuff this season like I want to see, the checklist for 2026, I want to see you keep the receiving production, score your touchdowns, but show me more vertical impact, create more after the catch, and most importantly, become a more reliable blocker. If that version happens at Penn State, he's going to skyrocket up the board. Because the league will always be interested in a 6'7" tight end with speed and hands. But he has to prove he's more than just his silhouette. We don't play this game in shorts and a t-shirt. This is not the underwear Olympics. You have to be able to play physical football to be in the NFL. It's as simple as that. Do I think he can do it? Yes. But I need 2026 for him to get on tape and show me. I think the foundation is built well. I think he has all the tools. I just need to see it happen. Currently he's sitting at an 8.94 out of 10. My tight end 5, number 53 overall. He's tall, fast. He's ascending receiving tight end with reliable hands, a red zone volume, and a production profile that finally started to match the frame. Being a Mackey Award semifinalist raises my expectations for you, but I need to see the blocking improve. I need to see your after catch production improve. And that's what 2026 is for you. That's what 2026 is for Benjamin Brahmer. I have to see that happen. That's my board. What do you think about Benjamin Brahmer? Can Penn State unlock him and, make him a more complete tight end? Is the 6'7" frame and receiving production enough to bet on? Or does the blocking concern keep him lower on your board like he does on mine? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoy these player profiles, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're going to keep putting in this work. Our goal is to have over 100 done before the start of college football season. As always, I'm Draft Yoda, Bill Workman, your favorite draft nerd's favorite draft nerd, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.